Karen.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes. For
Are
what?
you? I love how willing to go you are.
ready. Maybe.
Okay. Are you ready to accelerate your spiritual growth and development by applying practical approaches to ancient metaphysical concepts and techniques?
Ooh, yes, but that sounds complicated.
Well, then you're in luck once again. Today, we're going deep. We're tackling the tough questions with someone that's so well positioned to answer these questions once and for all. And I'm talking topics like enlightenment, the ego, karma, even the pursuit of material success while seeking a spiritual path.
Ooh.
Right. How do you do that? Well, today, no question is going to remain unanswered except those that he can't answer. But we're sure.
Lord. Except for why am I sitting here with you now?
One thing's for sure. We know that you're going to leave with a lot more answers and questions by the end of this episode. So relax, sit back, and allow your mind to expand on this episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Welcome to another eye-opening episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today we've got the pleasure of being accompanied by a spiritual mentor, an author, who's dedicated to guiding individuals through deep metaphysical journeys. I'm talking deep metaphysical.
Deep.
Yes.
Like scuba diving deep.
Way deeper than that.
Ooh, that's deep.
He deals in advanced techniques and mentorship programs for folks that are looking for genuine spiritual growth. And they're focusing on integrating metaphysical concepts into their daily life.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, I know.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, listen up, because his courses like Keys to Success and Dream Interpretation Masterclass provide essential tools for spiritual progression and emphasizes a balanced approach, combining ancient wisdom with modern insights for holistic spirituality. I don't want to talk anymore. Welcome to the show, Tarak Uday. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderful. It's a beautiful day. I'm glad to be here.
It is a beautiful day.
Really
Every day that we're here is a beautiful day.
Right. This side of the frost line is a good place to be.
No question. All right. Well, then let's just get right down into it, because we teased a lot in the show intro, and no pressure, but we're looking for a lot of answers here, right?
Okay.
So you have an extensive repertoire of tools that you use as a spiritual mentor.
Absolutely.
The biggest question, though, because people who are listening to the show have heard a lot of spiritual mentors talk about what the best path forward is and that kind of stuff, but some of us are still, no matter how many times we listen to someone, there's the common hurdles that we face on this path to enlightenment. So what would you say are the most common hurdles, and how can you personally guide people through those?
Yeah. I would say the most common hurdle is probably willpower, someone having the willpower to actually do the work, because it's very easy to listen to podcasts and watch videos and read books and things, but to then take time out and carve out time, a lot of time, to really put things into practice and to stick with it for extended periods of time, enough to really see results, is probably the biggest. And then with that, definitely concentration. Concentration, I feel, is one of the biggest tools that is so lacking in people's spiritual practice. And it's so simple to build.
Mine's like a recipe.
It might not be easy. But it's simple.
When I first got into meditation, it was all about concentration, and I was a master at it. I was like, after a while, I could concentrate. Like, people could be watching TV and I'm reading a book and I'm like zoned in, like nothing distracting me. But since I had a weird work thing happen about a year or so ago, and it threw me completely. And since then, my meditations have been spotty at best, and my concentration is crap. So that's something that you can lose. I didn't realize that you can lose that skill of concentrating.
Yeah. Well, it's a mental muscle. So just like your physical muscles, something can happen where you tear a muscle and you need time for let it heal and rebuild, or you don't use it and the muscle gets weak. You just have to slowly practice and build it up.
Gotcha. So let's say I tore my brain, not that I don't use my brain.
Mine just has a little sprain. Yeah, how do you do mental exercise? I mean, when you say that, I'm like, oh, you just do a bunch of math problems. I can do that. But this is a different type of mental exercise. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just about any kind of spiritual practice is going to help build your willpower and concentration regularly. I'm sure anybody who's practiced meditation might have had a tough time at first, but anybody who's done it for a while, at least like 3 months or more, would probably notice that their concentration is actually getting better, is your willpower is actually getting better and things. But when you have a specific exercise just for the willpower or just for concentration, then that's how you really exercise that muscle. And for example, what I teach is a Tritaka concentration exercise where you just place your attention on a candle flame and hold your attention there. And as soon as you realize you're distracted, you acknowledge that with a little tick mark on a piece of paper, bring your attention back and hold it there. And you just repeat that over and over for 10 minutes every single day. And do it for 10 minutes once a day, every day for the rest of your life. But start with 90 days. Yeah, it's a lot of candles.
But then you got to carry a candle around you all the time whenever you want to concentrate. So how do you get around
Yeah,
that?
I mean, you don't necessarily need a candle. You can use your tip of your finger. You can use a blade of grass. You can use a drop of water. In the Keys to Success course, I teach this, and I do throw a candle out there, but I also, because one thing you can do is, because like a fingertip and a blade of grass and a drop of water are still difficult because the nature of the mind is motion. And so that's very still. So it's going to be like going to the gym and, hey, bench press this 220 right here. Well, start me out with something light.
Yeah,
so
like,
that's why like a candle flame is nice because there's a little motion to it. So if you're out traveling or something, just spend 10 minutes in a park looking at a cloud or one leaf blowing in the wind a little bit. There's a little bit of motion to that. Or you can just go to the faucet and drip a little bit of water. Just get a little tiny water drip, maybe one every 2 or 3 seconds. So you have time to watch the drop form and watch the water drop actually drop. And so there's a little bit of motion to it, but there's also some stillness to it. So you can do all type of things like that. Or the second hand on a clock. I mean, most people use digital clocks now, but yeah, or like you say, you use an app.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a candle app. Yeah.
Pull up a candle flame.
And that water drop thing is cool, except you know how expensive water bills are these days? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a cool way to strengthen your concentration. But you said something that struck my attention. You said that you had exercises that would increase your willpower. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
Now that is what I need.
Me too.
I need the concentration too, but I need the willpower more so I can be concentrated.
Yeah. Well,
okay, concentrated, yes.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, they go hand in hand. So like what I would start out with is first just understanding what willpower is, making a conscious choice on something and then following through with it with continuous, relentless action until your ideal is achieved, until the goal is reached. And so like look at like things that break down your will. What ways are you making choices in your life and going against that choice? And it can be something simple. Hit the snooze button. That's a big one that a lot of people do that breaks down your will. I made a conscious choice to get up at 6 a.m., but I hit the snooze 3 times and got up at 6:30. So let me just instead make that's a small shift you can do. Okay, let me make a conscious choice and really actually get up out of bed at 6 or set my alarm for 6:30 and then get up at 6:30. You can do small things like just say out loud what you're going to do before you go to do it. I will go brush my teeth. Let's go brush. I will do these dishes. I will clock
Eat the donut.
Yeah, I will eat the donut. That works. But
how can
if you've already previously said I will eat better, then that's going against that major choice in your mind. So that's some small things. But here's one exercise that an actual exercise like the candle flame, which is also a huge exercise for getting in control of your ego and mastering your ego and making it your slave versus you being a slave to it. And I love this exercise. I got this from Stuart Wilde. He has a book, which I listen to it on audio tape on YouTube at least once a year, called The Little Money Bible. And he would do it with rocks in his backyard. But I just tell people, get $1 worth of pennies or nickels or whatever, and get 2 bowls. You can put them on one side of your house and one bowl on the other side, and put all the pennies into one bowl. And every single morning before you get your day started, or every night, last thing you do before you go to bed, just walk back and forth and take 1 penny out of one bowl and walk all the way to the other side and put it in the empty bowl. And then just keep going back and forth, picking up a penny and placing it down, picking up a penny and placing it down. And you will come across a lot of battles with your ego along the way, in that of, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You look silly. Like, there's nobody in here. You still look silly.
So are you doing all the pennies one day, or 1 penny a day?
Yeah, no, all the pennies in one day.
A whole dollar.
That's a great way to
do quarters.
That's a great way to get your steps in.
That is a good way to get your steps in. Especially with our house, with all the weird stairs.
Right.
Our house has so many weird stairs.
So you don't have to do 100. Maybe start out with 50. Start out with something small. If it seems extreme or seems too much for you, take it easy on yourself. A lot of people, when they jump into things, they take it real hard on themselves. With people with meditation all the time, I can't do it. I can't meditate. Well, how long are you meditating? I'm trying to meditate for 20 minutes a day. Okay, well, start with 5. Maybe you'll get a little more success. Start with 20 pennies if that's easier for you.
So how does this help you increase your willpower? What is the end result? You said it's like a humbling thing, but what are the mechanics? How does that work?
Yeah, well, it just helps to create. Your mind is meant to be programmed, so it's starting to program your mind to listen to your direction. Whatever, regardless of any like cues from your body that you're getting, regardless of any cues from your ego that you're getting, regardless of any other cues from any other programs that have been installed within your mind that you're getting, it'll come up. Especially if you do this every day for 90 days, the stuff will come up. After you do it for 30 days, then you'll start to battle like, oh, I don't need to do it anymore. I've seen results. I'm getting better with my willpower. And then you stop doing it, and then it slowly fades off. Or unless you find some other kind of exercise to help build it up.
But then wouldn't be that the time to tell yourself, when you're about to say, okay, I can stop now because I got success, isn't that the time to actually continue to push yourself through?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. I'm getting it.
Yay.
Or at the very least, transition it to a different exercise. So then maybe now you are ready to carry it forward to, okay, now it's the gym. Instead of these pennies, let me do the gym every morning and replace these pennies with the gym. Or now I can start with this eating habits and things and make some shifts in my life with it.
I think I'm going to try that, but I don't think I'm going to do the gym thing. I think I'll stick with the pennies.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad. Gym wouldn't be bad. I'll go with you. I need to go to the gym.
Well, we all do. But, all right. Well, that's super helpful. Thank you. That goes a long way. So let's shift gears then and talk about that dreaded E word that everybody is. So you hear it from both sides, right? They say the ego is something you're supposed to kill, and other folks are saying the ego is definitely absolutely not something you're supposed to kill. It's actually something you're supposed to come to terms with, understand, embrace, and move forward with. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I would pose a question. Anyone who says that the ego is there to kill, or that they has said that they have killed their ego, I would ask them a question about their relationship with their ego 6 months from then, and see, because as long as you have a conscious mind, the ego is going to be there. There is no destroying it. When you do, people do have very real experiences of killing their ego, but death in the universal language of the mind is all about transformation. So it's not that the ego ceases to exist, but that form and that shape and that relationship that they had with their ego is completely transformed. And then that's why I said wait 6 months, because a new relationship is building. And it'll come out. Right. So I realize I'm the person who's out here saying there is no ego. I've killed it. And then now that's my ego. That's because ego is just your identity. It's how you identify.
There you go. I was going to back it up and ask, what is an ego for you? Like what how can you recognize it?
Yeah, well, it's just how you identify. The ego is it's your motivating factor. It's your motivating force. It's what motivates us to do things. How I want to be seen by others, how I want to be seen in this world, the type of person that I want to be seen as. the way I want to be identified. All of those things motivate us in our actions and choices and what we want to do, who we want to talk to, who we want to have a relationship, where we want to be, where we want to live. it it shapes and motivates all of those choices and decisions. And so when you understand that relationship, then it's a lot easier to identify moments when your ego's more in control. Because that's really the main thing. Is like people, it's not that they have to kill their ego, they just have to learn how to master their ego instead
Mm.
of the ego being a master of them and being in control of their decisions. You won't be able to ever do this. Oh, I'll show you. You know?
Yeah, I hear that very clearly every day.
Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting because we think of the ego as like a negative thing,
Mhm.
but if you believe in the whole soul contract, then you chose your life, that you're living right now, which involves that ego. So you chose that
Mhm.
ego to go through this experience to learn something. So essentially, your ego is your teacher.
Hold up.
Mhm.
I know.
Hold up. Hold up. Since when do you believe in soul contracts?
I didn't say that. I said if you
She said
believe in soul
if.
contracts. I said if. You
Ah.
don't know what I believe. I don't tell you
Uh-huh.
everything. Jeez.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying. But I thought that was a pretty good question.
It was a great question. I just surprised it came from you.
Oh, wow. I don't even know how to feel about that.
Just because you don't believe,
Wow.
you've said many times that you don't know about soul contracts. You have a
I
hard
don't
time.
know about soul contracts.
Okay, well, let's ask the expert. What do you think? Soul contract, yay or nay?
Well, this is a good question because you guys use two words a lot, and I always like to bring this up. You talked about what you believe, and you talk about what you know. And she said, I don't know if I didn't say I believed it. I don't know. And so that's a very big distinction that a lot of us need to really pay attention to. Well, not, I mean, you guys, anybody can do what they want, but that I need to really pay attention to is making a clear distinction in my mind on what I actually believe, what is a belief, and what do I actually know. So I always say all the time, don't believe a word you hear me say throughout this whole podcast, like not a single one, but instead find ways to incorporate different concepts into your own life to create experiences for yourself so that you can know what's true and what's not. Because experience is that difference maker between belief and knowledge. And as far as soul contracts, yeah, I 100% believe in soul contracts, but not necessarily like a contract with AT&T for my cell phone bill and I'm signing at the dotted line 6 different places,
And the
but
price
just
goes up.
agreements. Yeah, like I married my wife. Me and her made a commitment in this lifetime. There's other commitments that I have made with different people within my soul group before this lifetime. Okay, am probably one with her. Hey, I'll find you. You find me. We have a lot of learning to do together, and let's help each other out with it. It's just agreements. So that's maybe a better way for people to receive and understand a more accurate picture of the relationship or of that versus like soul contracts, feeling like you're bound to something no matter what.
Right.
But yeah, the ego is new every single lifetime. And so it is formed from how your conscious mind was shaped, the environment that you grew up in, the family, the school, the other television programs and music you listen to and things. And so your ego is shaped by that. But yeah, it's not bad at all. Like in the Holy Bible, the ego is represented by the snake in the beginning. It evolves into Satan or the devil, and then it also evolves into the dragon. And so one of the key points that I like to point out with the ego in the Bible is like with Jesus, before he got crucified, he was like meditating for 40 days and the devil came and tempted him and was like, "Hey, look at all this stuff that's yours. We can rule it together." And Jesus could have saved us all some trouble if all of that's true and just killed the devil, got rid of all the evil, and then he didn't even have to get on the cross. We're done. We're all good. But he didn't. He didn't even tell him to leave. He didn't even say, "Get out of here, man. I'm doing something. I'm busy. I got something going on." Like, don't you know what's about to happen? I got to get my stuff together. I got to get prepared for this. All he said was, "Get behind me, Satan." And that's because Satan represents the ego and it needs to be in the back, pushing us forward and motivating with us out front in the lead. And so we have to learn how to be in control of the ego and motivate ourselves. Whenever we have an ego reaction, instead of just reacting to it, having a still mind to be able to properly respond in a proper way and make more of a conscious choice on how we're going to move about through whatever came up with that ego reaction. So when somebody says, "Oh, you can't do this," I can then stop and make a choice and decide whether it is something or not. Like when I was, it makes me think of when I was younger. I was a knucklehead. I'm a Taurus bull. So before I started meditating and everything, I was very confrontational and things. So someone would be like, "Oh, Tarak, you're a B." I don't know what we can say on here, but
You
I
can
would
say
just have
whatever you
an
want.
ego.
You can say whatever
Okay,
you
I'd be
want.
like, "Man, Tarak, you're a bitch," and I'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna prove that to me right now." I didn't consciously choose to get into an altercation with this person, but my ego reared its head and said, "You're gonna do this. You need to respond to this." Whereas now, I would probably just laugh at it. I know who I am. I don't care what you think.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all well and good, but now we need to turn to the expert. And now we know we got to get the ego behind us. How? How do you do that? Because man, we think we got it beaten. It's behind us, and all of a sudden you turn around and go, "What? How'd you get here?" Right? The
Yeah,
ego is
yeah,
always in front of us for some reason, and we got
yeah.
to figure out how do you maintain that focus to keep
It's
that
a
ego in check?
it's a constant relationship. It's a constant relationship that you have to, because it's always evolving. The more that you evolve with it, the more it will evolve. The more work that you do, I've practiced a lot of concentration and willpower and meditation. I'm lucid dreaming now and working through things and changing things within myself through my dreams. And now I'm Tarak Uday, this metaphysical master, and I'm on this podcast. And so now I've killed off my ego, and now I have no ego to deal with. It's just me. I'm so supreme and superior. And so
Yes.
now there's the new relationship with the ego. That's my new identity. So now I have a new, so it's just constant work. And the main thing that I would suggest is just awareness and observation, which will come through more concentration, having more
Wow.
awareness of your thoughts, understanding the mechanics of your thoughts, the mechanics of your mind, how a thought comes into your mind, the difference between a conscious thought, a subconscious thought, an intuitive thought, and the difference between a thought from the ego. And so the more attention that you can place on these things, then the easier it is to identify when it is an ego thought, when it is an ego reaction popping up in your mind, so that you can then take it, okay, hold on. Whatever I end up doing, let me at least take a minute. This guy's confronting me. If I sock him in the face, let me at least make a choice about it first before his
Right.
4 buddies walk around the corner.
Right. That's another choice. So run.
Yeah. So, and with practice, that's where the purpose of building these different skills comes in, because then it allows you it to be easier when these different ego reactions come up, when these different difficulties in life come up, and you have to then respond to things. Then your ability to respond, your responsibility. And so that's what I would say is how you do it, because it's going to be different as the relationship evolves. And
Right.
so if early on you're going to have it may be stronger as the ego because the dragon in all dragon movies, that's talking about the ego and the relationship of the ego. But the dragon never is always there to help some feeble little kid, but it never destroys them, but it's always there to help, willing to help them for some reason. And so as the relationship gets stronger, then it's easier to tell the ego what to do. It's easier to motivate. You understand how the ego works. And so it's easier to set up your life to where one thing that I always do is I have multiple goals, to where as soon as I do reach a goal, I already have 5 more that I've been working at and working on, to where once it's there, it's a celebration. Okay, great, but I still have a lot of things going on.
Mhm.
And so that's one thing where you can understand how the ego works, and understand how to navigate and avoid certain ego reactions at different times.
That's awesome.
I would
Yeah.
imagine that sometimes you might need an ego reaction, like when you're in the
Yeah.
hall with those guys, and there's 4 around the corner, and you're like, "Oh, I should be kind." Bam!
I think the ego would be like, I could take them.
That's what I mean. I mean, better than if you're like in the dead end, you got to do something.
I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. Well,
I'm sure LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Tom Brady would have never achieved what they did if they didn't have those egos.
Very
I
true.
want to be known as the greatest. That's how
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to identify.
True.
Tom Brady wouldn't have played until he was 44.
Right.
That wasn't
Yeah.
the case.
I still think he's coming back too, but
Your ego's like Jiminy Cricket.
yeah.
But you got
Yeah.
sometimes in a little cage.
I know, but Jiminy Cricket becomes like, I don't know, some giant thing on your shoulder after a while. that ego, I mean, it's
I thought you meant actual Jiminy Cricket.
no,
Really? I missed that part of the story.
that's
I was thinking back too. I was like, when did he grow?
I know, what happened? What did he eat?
No. It's a metaphor, people. Come on, metaphor. But I actually, I think I figured out a way to keep your ego in check. Every time I get myself up and all of a sudden get all my ego, I know I've got the surefire way to keep it in check. I got married. I got married. On that note, we're talking to Tarak Uday, who is a spiritual mentor, and he is helping us dive deeply into some of these metaphysical concepts, because what he does is he actually helps people to come to terms with spirituality with ancient metaphysical techniques, but applied in a new modern way. So it's been a really exciting conversation, because you've given us like actual practical tips on how to strengthen these things, these practices that we all need.
I love that too, because now now our lovely listeners can hear this. These people.
Somebody help these people.
Edit.
Now our amazing listeners can actually take these tips, these exercises, and apply them to their own life, instead of thinking, well, that would be nice, but I can't do that. Now they can.
I was thinking more about me. Yeah. I can put it over to work.
Well, I was thinking about you too.
I knew it. I love our audience, but I'm selfish. We talk to these people for us. And it's cool that you're coming along for the ride, but this is a pure selfish reason we're doing these things. But
as we can hear, we need help.
We do. We just talked about the ego, didn't we? Front and center, baby.
Womp
Okay. All right. Now, one question that we tackled before we went to break, and it's something that I've been really struggling with for 3 years now, maybe more, and that is maintaining that spiritual track, the spiritual path, while you're stuck in this 3D world, right? We are in the throes of creating a new platform, a new venture for us. And it has taken so much of us into this thing to get it going, that is difficult to keep your thoughts, keep that eye on the ball, right?
I know. And I thought it'd be just like riding a bike. Like the same thing. I had gotten into meditation. I remember at the airport just dropping in, and there's chaos and everything, but I had my moment. But now I'm sitting in total stillness and I'm struggling.
Yeah.
It's not like riding a bike.
Yeah, we're having a hard time sleeping because we're dreaming about the stuff we're doing. We can't meditate because our brains are not stopping. How does someone balance spiritual attainment and materialistic pursuits, in your estimation?
Well, by incorporating it into their life. That's the number one thing that I would suggest. So tie this into what you just said. Describe to me what your meditation practice looks like. Just run through that.
I stare into a candle flame.
Okay.
And
I was like, oh, okay.
But I am going to try that, though. That's really cool. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So I'm a Gemini. Right. So I can't do one single meditation ever because I get super bored. Right. So one day it'll be a silent meditation. Another day will be meditation music. Another day it will be binaural beats. Another day it will be a guided meditation. They're all different. I've tried mantras, and mantras do nothing for me. Like and not only do they do nothing for me, but they stop me from dropping in, because I'm constantly, I got to focus. And it doesn't allow me to drop in, which is weird. Because everyone loves transcendental meditation, everyone's swears by it, but it don't work for me. So
if we don't get back to it at the very afterwards, I'll at the very least email you something on mantras that will completely elevate that for you.
All right, deal. Thank you. That's awesome.
Or if we get around to it in this conversation, even better.
Okay, yeah, it would be better.
Well, and then what about you? What's your meditation practice look like?
Lately, it doesn't look like much.
But I mean, just whenever you do, what is?
Usually we meditate together, but we have pretty different styles. So sometimes I'll listen to guided meditations, but to me, I'm like, just stop talking, because it distracts me. So what works better for me is just certain music can help. But yeah.
And then once that's over and you open your eyes, then what do you do?
Well, if I'm really in it, it'll take me a while to open my eyes, because then I'll start seeing colors going on in my head, and then I don't want to leave. But then I'm like, I gotta gotta go to work.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it's just basically get up, take a moment, and then just go back to the regular stuff.
Well, and that's a great question, Tarak, because those moments when I do drop in and it's been a great meditation and I get up out of it within 12 seconds, it's all like I think I didn't meditate at all, right? Because it's just, because you try to take it forth into the world, into your life as you go, but
in that voice,
you have to. That's the
with the hand movement.
only way to get it there, right? But so it's hard to maintain that mindset, right?
So once the emails start coming in, the phone starts ringing,
and that's immediate for us, right away.
So, so one thing that I've learned, and then I've created thousands of experiences of it, so now I know it, is that from what you two described, I will say that from your own words, you only meditate for either a moment or 12 seconds, because meditation is not an activity. Meditation isn't like something to do. Meditation is a state of being, of resonance. And so your meditation doesn't ever begin until you open your eyes. Then the whole activity is to put us into that state. So feeling that you feel at the end of the meditation, that is when you are meditating. And so the key there is to then see how long, use your willpower to see how long and how far into your day you can stretch that out.
We really suck at it.
We are terrible. We're the worst meditators in the world.
Well, but I mean, have you ever actively tried to do that?
I thought the meditation was when you're there and you're relaxing and you're just feeling the breeze, and I didn't realize it was the after part.
Well, but what good does that do for you? Because when you're in the airport and everything's going on and you're getting a phone call and an email and there's a lady at the counters asking you stuff, I mean, and you're now scattered. What good does the meditation earlier that morning do for you in that moment? Now, if you can get really good at carrying it forward. Okay, I made it to the kitchen table today. Okay, I was able to maintain a piece of that all the way standing up. Okay, now I made it to the front door. Okay, I made it to the car. Here I am 3 months later, and I can actually make it on a whole trip and actually have a conversation with someone before it fades away. And so just practice, and that's really living meditatively.
Right. How realistic is that? I mean, because what I thought was meditations, right? When I'm like, ooh, like I'm like Zen master will, right? I'm deeply in this thing. I come out, and if I'm ooh in the world, people are going to be like, "What is wrong with this guy? Who's this guy? This weird."
What I would suggest for you, Will, especially with the Gemini nature, is see which of those techniques do work the best, and then of those, see why they work. And next time you do practice that, and you're practicing one that really does get you there, then just observe and watch the mechanics of your mind and how you get into that state. So, because then you can find other ways that isn't so walking through the grocery store. Oh, do you know where the peas are?
You were there. You saw me. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Okay, so here's a problem for Gemini mind like me. Something's going to work really gangbusters one day. The next day it works not at all. It's terrible because my Gemini mind flips, and it's like, oh, nope, this is Gemini. This is the twin that doesn't go down for this stuff. Right? That's the problem with me.
Maybe you're just set in your ways. Maybe you think that that's what's happening, so you let it happen.
I'm absolutely not set in my ways.
Absolutely not.
Well, the Gemini is the radial thinker if they can master that, or distracted. And so that Tritaka candle exercise will transform your life if you stick with it. If you stick with it for 90 days, I'm certain that you'll notice, but I guarantee she'll notice.
Ooh.
And it will have an effect, especially for because a Gemini. I mean, our astrological influences are just that. They're influences. So they don't control our life. They don't command our life, but they are strong influences. Like the wind in a sail. The wind's blowing one way, but I can still master it and maneuver and go anywhere on the ocean if I knew how to do that.
Yeah, that's key,
or I might just be floating away. Wait, SOS.
Yeah, that is a key part of that. Yeah.
But for you, the lifelong learning for most Geminis is concentration. That's like the main lesson in life. Like for Tauruses, it's very much self-value.
Cancers.
For Cancers, it's more like strength and having their own inner strength because they need the shell because it's so sensitive out in the world. But
Right.
having that inner assurity versus having the outer world influence so much.
Oh my
things
God.
outside of yourself.
That is spot on.
Well, I'm also married to a Cancer, so
okay.
My wife's
So I knew
July
it was.
8th.
She must be a good woman.
It was either that one.
Yeah.
It was either that, or you need to love a Gemini. That one or the other. It was. There's no in between. Right?
Yeah.
But which one?
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is it's not absolute. You
Yeah.
know, so it's something that you have designed to want to be influenced in a way to push you to learn these things, to learn how to control your attention so that it can then go from scattered attention to more radial thinking. You can see things from many different perspectives very rapidly versus being distracted by many different things very rapidly. And so another thing in regards to what you were asking is I don't really teach. I do have a still mind meditation where you sit down and still your mind, but a lot of the meditations I teach are more like active meditations and finding ways to live meditatively. And so one thing that you can do is work with the breath. I'm sure you all have learned plenty of breathing exercises.
Yep.
And so that's one simple thing that we all already do that we can do at any moment, no matter where we're at, that will help us to get into a meditative state. Like the long breath. The long breath is amazing because scientifically, no negative emotion can remain if you're breathing the long breath, which is just long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing deeper and deeper, longer and longer, slower and slower. I mean, if it's a very intense emotion, it may take 5 minutes breathing like that to start to alleviate it. But you can alleviate any emotion, and that can really help you get more centered when you're in the middle of the airport or in the middle of the grocery store, and without really causing a scene or anything, or having people wonder what you're doing.
Tarak, you had me meditating right there where you were doing that longer. I was like, ooh, I'm dropped in. I'm in.
Well, you know what else? Remember when you were so when we were going through COVID and he was really having a lot of anxiety, we started making bread together. And when you would need that bread, you would just like.
I would.
So I think you should make more bread.
Oh wow.
So
That's hilarious because earlier when you were describing things before, I instead shifted into like the Gemini things, but I wanted to ask, what's an activity that you do where you feel very centered and just not really engrossed, but just every sense of your being, not just sight, is fully connected with what you're doing?
When I'm interviewing someone for a podcast.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Well, that's a good active meditation. So in those moments, but like the kneading of the bread is probably a good one because it can free up your mind enough to observe. Whereas in here, you're mostly observing the conversation and seeing how to navigate and interact with that. Whereas in kneading the bread, you can observe your mind and watch how you get into that state to where you can slowly over time. I mean, it does take time. It's not like all of these things that I'm sharing to people is just going to be a magic pill and eradicate things. But over years, you'll get into a practice where you can just put yourself in that state without any activity.
Right. It's actually interesting because there are two things that I've recognized that gets me there. And one of them I never expected it to be. First, the adult coloring books. Right? When I'm coloring, I drop in, I zone. I mean, I really enjoy it, and I never do it. I need to invest in a few of them. But then the one thing I actually found it through COVID, when we got those Lego things for Sienna, and I was the one putting them together. The act of putting these things together, following the step-by-step instructions on putting the Iron Man head together and things like that.
Yeah,
that was really, really cool, and I didn't even think about that just now.
Yeah, maybe you should replace your mantras with the Legos.
There you go. I mean, I always say that I think I was probably a factory worker in a past life, because any little things I do with my hands, whether if you have a bunch of chains and they get knotted together, that, or I love to cook and just chopping,
Yeah.
doing that, or
Cooking is what I was
now
supposed to
those
do.
coloring books freak
Yeah.
me out with all those little spaces. That's just way too stressful.
Oh, see, I like
Those
that.
give me anxiety. Like I can do big colors and spaces, but like the little ones, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of work.
No, I like the
But like if I'm
It's
like
too
moving
intricate.
my hands and doing stuff, that's just like,
Oh,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
interesting. All
right.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
so
gonna get a
just
lot of work
observe
done.
different things in your life where you already are naturally getting into a meditative state.
Yeah.
All right.
You know?
Tarak, you are fascinating to me because you are, I mean, you truly, you're talking, you're giving specific ways for people to do certain things, and that's exactly what we look for on a daily basis. But I'm really curious, how did you don't look like you're that old. You look like a very young man. How did you gain all this wisdom? How did you come across all these things?
You said you were a knucklehead. How'd you go from knucklehead into metaphysical master?
Yeah. Willpower, lots of willpower. I'm actually 228. I was born in 16. Not fine. Yeah, no, I'm not that. I'm not even 40
I see the
yet.
Egyptian deity behind you, so I can see how.
Yeah. Although immortality is a subject that fascinates me, but I just lots of. So how it really came about was I was going to school. I was like 25, 26 years old. So pretty much I was about to get into my solar return. Yeah, I was like 26. I went back to college. I was going to school. I had 2 jobs, and there was suddenly a day where I didn't have any job to go to or any class to go to. It was like first time in like 4 months. And I thought of all these when I woke up and realized that, I was like, "Wait, what, I have all these things I wanted to do." And then next thing I know, the sun's going down outside of my window, and I never really even got off the couch. And I was like, "Man, I have no energy. I need to learn about energy." And I remember my dad used to teach me about Tai Chi, when I was a little kid. My parents separated when I was 8, so most our relationship since then was mostly like over the phone and talking a lot. So I called him up, and I asked him, I was like, "Man, I want to learn more about Qi and energy." And he pretty much just said, "Okay, go look up Qi Gong and then see what you find and then come back to me." And so it went to like 4 in the morning that night. I was like Googling, because it was a desktop computer. Our smartphones weren't really that smart at the time. and I was like just looking into Qigong, and then that came to chakras. And then I was just learning, and then it just unfolded like that from then on. I met some lady who gave me this book on hand chakras, and that was only like one chapter of this book. And I never saw that lady again. It was just really weird. I don't even remember who she was or anything. I just remember the lady gave me this book, and I learned about hand chakras and how to heal yourself. And at the time, I had this serious heart issue going on for like the last 2 years. This serious like growth on the back of my head. I didn't know what it was, but it was getting bigger and bigger every day until the size of a nickel. So I was like, okay, if these hand chakras are really a thing, let's put it to the practice and find out. And so I did, and I did the technique that it said. And 30 days later, I didn't even do anything with the heart, but you have to open your heart to be able to open your healing energy. And so I just wanted to get the growth on my head because I was really concerned about that. But both within 30 days, I've never had a symptom since. That was over a decade ago. And so then it was like, at that point, like I was kind of serious, but at that point, it was like nothing else in my life matters anymore except for understanding this. And so I sold my TV because I didn't use it anymore except to watch like videos, like YouTube videos of things. I would buy a book. I remember going to a bookstore and I looked at every single book in the metaphysics and spirituality section, and I only came away with 2. One I didn't even end up reading. I think it was the 4 Agreements, which a lot of people read. I got 5 pages into it, and I'm like, no, I want like serious stuff more than this.
Yeah, I need more than 4 agreements. I need all the agreements.
Actually, the other book, it's in my bedroom, but it's called The Book of Secrets, and it is by far my number 1 recommended book to anybody. It is my favorite book of all time. 112 different centering techniques in there, ancient tantric techniques. Tantra just means technique, so not like a lot of people get in like sex tantra, but those are just specific
we're not
sex
judging
techniques.
here. Not judging.
There's only like 2 of those out of the 112. The rest are like tons of other things outside of the bedroom. But I mean, I would read something, and then that would inspire me to want to learn about something else. And so I would go and order a book or something to then read after this. But the main thing was I was not just reading these things, but I was putting them to practice immediately. Like the hand chakra book also at the last chapter talked about astral projection. And it said, hey, you can charge a glass of water with your hands and create a positive charge on there. And then it'll create a positive charge. Your body is negatively charged and your soul is positively charged. That's how it's so bound together. And then when you drink the water real fast, then it'll positively charge your body and help push it out or help push your soul out.
Wait.
He has wanted to astral project forever.
That's the whole point of this podcast.
Yes,
Wait. This is the book.
Oh, you can do it in 2 weeks.
No. The Book of Secrets. That's what it is?
Well, the Book of Secrets, I don't know if that one really. If you want to astral project, here's a great book for you. Actually, I think that's also in my bedroom. It's by Robert Bruce, Astral Dynamics. Oh, yeah. I mean, these are books that I've had for a long time. I reread them all the time. But Astral Dynamics by Robert Bruce. Read that book. It will, it may take a little longer because it does take a lot of concentration and willpower. So being a Gemini, you have a little more to get over and get past. But yeah,
I'll tell you how.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple links to some of my videos and things on the astral projection. That'll help with you. Great. And if you have any questions or anything, definitely reach out. No problem.
I appreciate that. And Karen, and so help me. If you astral project before me, I will.
It's on.
I mean, we're going to have words.
Yeah, but I mean, if she does, then she may be able to then help also assist you out in getting out.
She's never been your cards right.
She's never been interested in this stuff, right? She's never been interested in stuff, right? No, in astral projection.
Oh.
And but the same thing with meditation. I meditated for a long time. She couldn't do it. The minute she started, boom! Immediately, it's like, God, I think I'm finished. So no.
Yeah. And I have astral projected, but that's another story.
Come on.
For another day.
Well, also, I mean,
come on.
Women are more naturally receptive. A Cancer, whether you're a man or a woman, is more naturally receptive. Men are naturally more aggressive. Geminis, whether you're a man or a woman, is naturally more aggressive. And a lot of these things, the success is determined by how well you can put yourself into a receptive state. So it's no surprise that she can just try a couple times and boom, see some success, see some results, and you have a little bit more work to put in for it.
Okay, how's that fair? How is that fair?
I don't know.
Life's not fair, baby.
Your soul could have waited like 3 more weeks and or not even that, 2 more weeks. 1.
All right. So
I'm just kidding.
Drink a glass of water really fast, and that's going to make me.
Well, then we have to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the book said, and I didn't because I was coming off of 25 years of like strong Christian indoctrination. My mom, I've witnessed my mom like exorcising demons. It's like our whole family is like in the church. Like when I first got into this, one of my cousins wanted to have a intervention for me just because it was like not of Jesus, the things I was doing. But anyways, so when I read that part, I was like, I don't know about that one. I'll do the hand chakras, but that one I'll put to the side. But like 3 months later, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this. I want to have this experience. And so I did it. It was like 2 a.m. and I charged the water and I drank it really fast and I laid down on my couch. I didn't want to lay in my bed. And maybe 5-6 minutes in, maybe it was 10, I don't know. This was 12 years ago. But my feet started lifting off of the couch. And in that moment, I thought to myself, oh, I don't know how to get back. If I want to come back, I don't know how to get back. And I read that whole book and that whole chapter. I read that chapter twice, actually. And it doesn't say anything about how to get back. And so then I like jumped up off the couch. I just kept myself awake all night until the water wore off. I don't know if the water actually works because I never tried it again. I had other techniques that I've done since then. But yeah, maybe I should try that water technique again one time. But
so what was the name of that book again? For astral projection?
Robert Bruce, Astral Dynamics.
Astral Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
You said projection. It's Astral Dynamics. Yeah.
Yeah, when I woke up from there, I was like, I need a teacher. And so the Book of Secrets written by Osho was like still the #1 book for me. And I was like, okay, let me find this guy. I'm sure he has like an ashram somewhere. I'm gonna learn from this guy. And it was like, oh, he died in like 96. So then I was like, oh, okay, what do? I need to find a teacher. And then a friend of mine told me about this place, School of Metaphysics. And I went there. That's where I learned about dream interpretation. That's where I learned a lot of discipline in practices and things. And then after that, I also learned astral projection there. And I had some success with the techniques that they taught, but it wasn't until 4 or 5 years later, after I left and was learning other things, I did the same thing that I did at the bookstore. I went to Half Price Books this time. And I was just driving down the street, saw Half Price Books. And I was like, you know what? Just something intuitively just made me pull in. And I scoured every single book again. And I only came away with one book, Astral Dynamics by Robert Bruce. And I was like, it didn't even really seem that interesting. But I was like, it was the only thing that kind of piqued my interest. And I went and read it. And the techniques and his whole approach is totally different. It was exactly what I needed. And it works for tons of people, just because instead of a visual sense, using your visual sense, you're using your sense of feeling and your tactile sense to actually get out of the body. And then also he really described the different, I call them checkpoints that you have to go through to get out of your body, which I was already aware of because even before the School of Metaphysics, I was practicing lucid dreaming just on my own and practicing putting my body to sleep and remaining awake, which is actually one of the techniques. So I guess, yeah, that's in the Book of Secrets with Osho. That's one of the 112. But he doesn't, the way he describes it, it's you just have to practice it on your own and discover the technique on your own to have success. But anyways, the experience that I would have whenever I would have success with the lucid dreams was described like in very good detail with Astral Dynamics and Robert Bruce. Here's this checkpoint and here's why it is. Here's this checkpoint, here's why it is. I'm like, oh yeah, exactly. I experience that every single time. I have a sense of what I'm doing, but now it's much more clear in exactly the hurdles I need to overcome. And then through my own, and so yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in that book, definitely.
Oh my gosh.
And he's the one who claims in that book you'll be able to do it in 2 weeks. And he talks about different people who do. And I had a lot of practice well before that book. I also had a lot of success with not necessarily with astral projection up until that point, but lucid dreaming, which is astral projection, up until that point. I had a ton of success with that.
So we've heard that when you astral project, it feels more real than real. Right?
Exactly.
It's not like you feel like you're imagining things. It's actually you're truly experiencing things. Is that how you experience it?
Oh yeah. Well, for me, so there's 4 levels within the subconscious mind. Not to go too deep, but most of the time when you're dreaming, if you're dreaming in black and white, you're in the emotional level, which is the very first level in. If you're dreaming in like regular color, which most people's color dreams are in the lower astral level, and then the upper astral level is like very vivid, vibrant colors. And whenever I dream there, that's when I wake up, and it was like that was more real than real life. Like like everything I look at seems a little more dull because of what I just experienced and how vivid and more real it felt. But yeah, astral project, because you're out in the dream, it's not like a dream. You're there experiencing it with these astral senses. So if you come back with a strong enough memory of it, yeah, it's going to feel much more real than a regular dream. You're going to be like, there's something to this. There's no denying it because there's something to this.
We have talked for almost an hour already, and it's felt like 15 minutes. You are fascinating.
And so much fun.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I loved it.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about Structure of the Mind, right? That's your book that you wrote. Really quickly, give us a synopsis of what the book's about.
Yeah, I mean, the book is about pretty much what I was starting to talk about, like the 4 different levels: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind. The conscious mind is the mind that your physical body uses within this physical reality. The subconscious mind is the mind that your consciousness uses, or that your soul uses within the 4th dimension, which is time. And the superconscious mind is the mind that your spirit uses within the 5th dimension, which is space. And so it pretty much outlines all of those things, the purpose of each mind, the duty and job that it has, the power of each mind, and outlines all of the levels within the mind, and really just outlines the structure of your mind. Because if we can understand the mechanics of our mind, then it's a lot easier to understand how our mind works and have more control over our mind instead of our mind controlling us. A lot more understanding of these different spiritual experiences and what is really happening and how it's happening and why. And so I think that is, I wrote this book because I started to write a book on lucid dreaming, and this book was just the first chapter. And so I was like, hold on. And I was realizing every other book that I write is going to want to talk about this and lay it out in the very beginning as a foundation. So let me just put this out as a book and then just reference it, or just make it the first chapter of every book. Who knows moving forward. So yeah, I mean, because understanding the mechanics of it is what's going to help people. And there's also different exercises in here. The candle concentration exercises in here. There's an imagination exercise and a memory exercise to improve your memory.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You are like the mentor that I've always thought people needed, right? You actually give practical advice, practical exercises, how to get, I mean, this has been wonderful. If someone wanted to either buy the book or reach out to you to become a mentee or to have you help you guide them through the spiritual journey, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Awakenwithin.us. Awakenwithin.us. All of my social medias will lead you to where you need to go. I have in order to access the mentor program, you have to join the Metaphysical Mastery community, and that's free. The Metaphysical Mastery community is free. Almost the majority of the things that you would think you would get in the mentor program is free in the Mastery community. So
what
almost
a deal.
everything is
wow.
Yeah. It's and so like all the resources, all the techniques. The only thing in the mentor program is a monthly live stream, which will, it's like a monthly Q&A to be more personable and in interacting and guiding the mentees. And I'm trying to get that built up to where it'll be easy to become like weekly and then multi-weekly. But also there's different lessons, like bi-weekly lessons in there, and something. Oh yeah, there's like a specific chat just for all the mentees. There's a chat for everybody else also, but there's everyone for the mentees. So it's more for people who are like, they've already done all of the stuff in the first section, or they just want more, like they're very serious versus just curious and serious, but someone who's very serious. And the mentor program is only like $5 a month. So even if you did join that, I mean, you're still very accessible.
So the Metaphysical Mastery is for those who are just testing it, and the mentorship is for those who have already worked through their willpower issues. Got it. Understood.
yeah, I guess.
All right, Tarak, this has been wonderful. It has been an absolute pleasure. I know this is not going to be the last time we talk, because I just loved our interaction and everything you shared with us. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing of your expertise with us.
It's been an honor.
Yeah, thank you. The honor has been ours. I really can't stress enough how cool it's been to talk to you. So if you're listening to this and you want to reach out to him, all you need to do is go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to his episode page. You'll see the links directly laid into the show notes, so it makes it super easy to be connected. So Tarak, once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And a huge thank you to you. Yes, you, the person that hit play on this episode. We know that there are tons of options out there, and having you decide to come along on our journey of discovery with us is an absolute honor for us. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing the message we're sharing on the show, do them and us a favor and share the show with them. It will help get the word out about us, and it might just change someone's life for the better. Well, that's all for now, but we'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysician. Until then, take care.